what's up? We are here at KEXU 96.1 FM, baby. Poor Magazine. What's up, honey?
Well, this is, we are the poverty scholars. That house's mama, that house's daughter, all the people you don't want to see, never want to be, look away from me. What you gonna do, arrest me? We're in your city. Yeah, we are the poverty scholars, and I do rock my jailhouse attire, not because orange is the new black or any of the other lies and flack they'll give you in Hollywood, but because us poor folks are invisibilized on these stolen Ohlone Lashon streets. So we coming up, and we speak in truth. And today at KEXU 96.1 FM, that's the crossroads, KSU, Ashe, we're going to be telling more truth people don't want to hear, they want to sweep away.
Yeah, and I'm the black cripple people in your eardrum. Do you hear me? Yeah. So let's get into this. Let's get into the cases report.
Yeah. Well, what's up, everybody? Sadly, a weekly segment on these liberated airwaves is what we call the gentrification report. Actually, for those of you who know me, know that I call it a little different, but we're on FCC time right now. We're live on that dial. For those of you listening on La Fruitville and High Street and Park Boulevard and most all of Lower East Oakland, you can actually hear us on the dial. And those of you watching us on YouTube, and those of us, we're also streaming on poormagazine.org/radio. So yeah, we all over the busy streets. What? But that said, sadly, I have to have this be a constant. This week, I am sad to report that 3 stories. First of all, a sister right here on Black Arthur in deep East Huichino Lonely Land is facing an unlawful eviction. Her scam lord gave her a verbal notice that the next day she was going to change her locks. So I just want to give a PSA and a shout out right now from this jailhouse lawyer outside of jail without a degree, that when your scam lord gives you some mess like, we're going to come in tomorrow and you need to be gone, you need to call us or go into one of the nonprofits that help. And they do, they're non-profiteers, but they still help. Eviction Defense Center, Tenants Union, East Bay Law Center, or you can call us 510-435-7500 or email poormag@gmail.com, because we can help you with the jailhouse lawyer help. In other words, help you get your paperwork together, because at the very minimum, they have to give you a written notice. It has to be 30, 60, or 90 days, and they have to have a reason, because in Oakland, we have a just cause ordinance. And please, if you're getting some mess like they gave to this elder, please do not believe them. And what you need to do is reach out for help, and we can also help you create your own work. So anyway, this elder, we helped them create a letter. Just so you know, you send a letter with certified mail saying that you know your rights under California rent control law, and that they have to give you written notice and go through a process in these kangaroo KKK courts. They can't get you out like that. The other sad report we've got is the family of Willie Neal, who's actually the good son of Patricia Neal, Evaye, who's actually my mama's friend. So that there was no accidents here. SUO, a powerful warrior for the people, who literally worked with House's folks for years and was one of Mama D's folks. So yeah, we ended up finding about Willie's story through the North Oakland Restorative Justice Council. Folks would go along with Max and Fat Beats and Auntie Francis, right? And so they're basically dealing with some mess from a scam lord right here in East Oakland, and their entire family, who's been here their whole life, has to leave. Now that is some mess and some wrong mess. So they're actually leaving. They got a spot in Stockton, one of these, poor people suburbs where all those folks end up going because we don't necessarily have anywhere else to be.
Yeah, it was worse in Sacramento.
Yep.
Acting now it's doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And Antioch.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to pull up behind us. There is a GoFundMe page. Willie needs to raise 3 G's by tomorrow. It's not an option. It is not an option. Anybody within the earshot of my voice, please donate. Whether it's $2, $10, or $2,000. This family needs money because you know these scam lords who charge money, gangster paper, just to have a roof over your head. Basically, are charged. They need to raise $3,000, even on a Section 8 certificate, to move into the new place. First, last, and that mess, right? Please donate. The GoFundMe is support the Beal family on GoFundMe, and this is the picture to look for. If you can't find it and you're listening to my voice, again, you can call 510-435-7500 and we'll help you find the link. And or if you just want to drop off cash for them, we'll get it to them. As well, poormag@gmail.com. You can also email us for more information. And the last really, really wrong gentrification report that we have to tell you today, because every day in America, KKK is a gentrification report, right? The first form of gentrification was colonization. Please believe this. Please understand and overstand your stolen histories. But the last story we have is Sister Frankie Velez, who we've been covering since the beginning, who we supported in press conference in the Politrickster halls, called Oakland Supports and Enables a 21st Century Diaspora. So Frankie's whole family they're attempting to remove them. Frankie's a warrior like all of us, and she's actually trying to launch another homefulness right here in Oakland.
And she's also a disabled veteran.
So this story with Frankie is going to be a little bit later on the show. We're actually going to call her in the studio. We're blessed to have her with us today in vivo, and so we'll get more into those details. But that's this week's gentrification report.
Yeah, so let's go on with the truth behind the headlines with Tiny again. What's up?
Well, today's truth behind the headlines, actually, I want to go back to something I had to talk about on Tuesday. Corporate media was telling a typical story about a mother who had, basically done what's called, infanticide, killed her own child. And it's a very sad story, and it's really, in no way am I excusing any of that behavior. But I want to lift up the fact that this sister tried to get services from nonprofiteers first. She tried to get help. She reached out. She's in the city, the stolen area that's called Las Vegas, where, us poor folks basically hardly get any services, which is really most of AmeriClan. And so then, because she was obviously in a mental health crisis and dealing with a lot of her own colonization and trauma, she did something very bad that she's very sorry for, but it's too late now. I want to lift this sister up, and in this story, I want to make sure that people know the backstory and the her story, which is never told. And as we do that today, because we're about solutions, not just about talk, we're going to call on our sister June Jewel Stroman from Washington, D.C., a poor mama. We need to call her. Hold on one second while we're doing that. We need to call her. And we're going to be calling her on Facebook in a video chat. So give us a minute and she will be up.
Well, that's going through. These kind of cases are really too ugly with disabled babies because constantly do you see wealthy mothers killing their disabled babies. Especially with babies with autism. It's been in the news constantly this month and last month, and mostly it's white wealthy mothers. So.
And they never get, as usual, any repercussions, right? Ever. Sail through. Let the family too that we have to bring up. What was the name of the family who adopted the children? Yeah, that was a really sad story that Poor Magazine actually followed up on.
Well, you know what's so sad is that the mainstream media frames these parents as, oh, they tried their best and they're taking care of the disabled kids, so they're innocent. It's like, no, they killed their kid. That's one topic, but
It's not letting me
this issue is totally different. But I wanted to say
video.
that a lot
Yeah, it
of
turns it off.
disabled kids get killed by their parents.
Hello? That's off.
Technical
That's off.
difficulties.
Yeah,
As
so
we're on the digital streets,
we're trying to hook
we're
it
on the
up.
hoopty. PNN, not CNN, people. So we in the hoopty, the bucket. We're doing our best to lift this up. And right now, as usual, we're having face crack problems. And you know what we can do too is call her. So that's our backup. If we can keep trying a couple minutes, just giving you a little bit, give us a little second here, and we were gonna call her if we can't get her on the video chat.
So where is she from, Penny?
She's from DC, and you want to talk about that shelter that they were trying to close?
Yeah, so DC has a lot of history of like Berkeley almost, San Francisco, closing shelters
Yep.
for people that are houseless. So, DC, they say the chocolate city, but the chocolate city is becoming a vanilla city, the city is closing down shelters. Matter of fact, last year, this disabled women that had mental health disabilities were kicked out of the hospital and just dumped on the streets in DC at the Georgetown hospital. So, these
Hey,
kind of
Jill.
issues are happening.
All right, and so we couldn't get you on face crack, but we're gonna get you on the audio, and your beautiful picture is above us. So we'll get started this way. I do want to say too, for listeners and viewers, we're about to talk to our Washington D.C. PNN correspondent, the amazing Jewel Stroman. She doesn't take no mess from no politricksters or non-profiteers or government agents of the state. And she stands up for fellow welfare queens, as we would call it, small W, capital Q. And one of the things that she's been doing is reporting on the closure of one of the biggest shelters there for houseless families, the warehousing of families in these, motels where they don't even provide services. And one of the other stories that's never told about poor mamas is the story of what we call child separation services. And Jewel is actually launching some work on that. Jewel, can you talk a little bit about what you're going to do and what you're looking to do in that work?
Yeah. What I'm trying to do currently is to organize a protest. As you know, I just led 2 protests for homeless families in D.C. And those went really well. We got coverage from the Washington Post newspaper and also the Washington City paper. And so now what I'm trying to do is organize a peaceful protest for parents who are in the Washington, D.C. and Maryland and Virginia area.
Nice. And can you talk about, specifically one of the stories of specifically homeless mothers is the way that then suddenly CPS thinks they can take our children. Maybe talk a little bit about how that happens. I know that that's something that you've dealt with and that the mamas you've dealing with have dealt with. Relating the issue of poverty, race, how they attack poor mamas, they attack black mamas, and it's a constant thing. Maybe you could just highlight us on that.
Well, what I will say on that is, with my own situation, it occurred in 2011. My daughter, my 9-year-old daughter, who at the time she was about 13 months old, she was unjustifiably taken from me by CFSA, Child and Family Services Agency. And so being, an outspoken advocate that I am, of course, I fought very hard for my daughter. Her case got a lot of media attention. And so as a result of that, my daughter daughter was returned to me. But since this has happened, since her return to me, I have faced years and years of retaliation from CFSA, constantly trying to, open up new cases on me and on my family. What I've noticed when dealing with a lot of the other homeless or formerly homeless families that I advocate for, and just dealing with parents in general, is that it seems to be a pattern of CFSA that they seemingly are targeting low-income Black families. This is an unmistakable pattern, and I went to the law library. I read a lot of books. There's a really good book called Shattered Bonds, and it's by a lady named, her name is Dorothy Roberts. I think she's a law professor. And she wrote this book, and it's based off of what's going on in Chicago. It's a very informative book that I think everybody needs to read, because it will really open your eyes to just a lot of the corruption within CFSA and a lot of the, how the system is financially profiting off of snatching these babies.
That's real. That's beautiful. Can you repeat the name of the book, hon?
It's called Shattered Bonds.
Nice.
And it's by Dorothy Roberts.
Okay, and I also want to bring in right now my mama. I'm a melanin-challenged daughter of an Afro-Boricua mama who launched Court Watch, which was specifically because what you are saying, Jewel, is completely right on. My little sister was taken away from my mama because of some mess, some BS basically, and they used all these racist and classist lies about us when they took us to juvenile dependency court. If people do not know, that system is so dirty. So the social worker for the department is in bed with the social worker for the child, who's in bed with the judge, who's in bed with the advocate. I mean, it is unbelievable, right? So if you So if you deal with the system, it literally, and you try to get justice, it literally will drive you insane. And that's literally what happened to my mama. They got her to a point where she was like, she had no recourse but to terminate parental rights. And it broke her heart to this day. I mean, on the other side, she's, on the other side now. But I really believe that what people do not understand about that system is it's set up for a get up. It is, right? They make money on our children. And I want to bring out the fact that, and people don't know this, the department, aka CPS or ACS, gets $12,500 every time they take a child out of the home.
Yeah.
Right? So they get paid, right? It's a money incentive. Right? And Leroy, well, go ahead and speak on that.
Yeah, and they get more if the kid is disabled, a lot more.
Exactly. And so one of the crazy parts about that is that my mom did all this work in the late 90s, early 2000, called it Court Watch, and linked up with other mamas. And one of the mamas actually sued CPS and won. The problem is sued, in other words, for damages, for treble damages of breaking the bond of a child and a parent behind some lies, behind having absolutely no accountability. Now, the sad part is the child had already been, the bond has been completely broken between child and parent. And so this child and the mama were never really able to reconnect. And that was such a source of sorrow, right? Because the torture behind this foster care system, again, which is in bed with the other systems, and what they end up doing is messing up our families. So I just want to lift up again the work that you're doing. I also want to say back in the day, in the late 90s, there was a Black-led interdependent model that went back to the deep structure of African peoples. One of the things my mom did a lot of work on. I need to send you a copy of the Mother's issue, Jewel, because you would really appreciate it. She did an interview with Dr. Wade Nobles, who is the chair of Black Studies and who is a powerful Black scholar, on the issue of the transubstantive error and the way CPS is based on a hetero male patriarchal model of like sanity, right? It has nothing to do with the ways our families live, of kinship, right? Multi-generational family, all that. But anyway, that said, there was this piece where they were actually able to bring up that story and to actually learn from it and create a different model. And so they did this thing called a demonstration model where black elders in the Baby Hunters Point, which is a predominantly black neighborhood in Frisco, of course now it's being gentrified, so there's hardly any folk left, but long story short, where they would take families in and grandparent them and move completely outside of the system. And it worked really beautifully. And guess what happened? The city stopped their funding. I wonder why. Right? But let's lift this up as a different model. And just so you know, Jewel, because it's my hope someday you can come visit us at Homefulness, or we can visit you out there. We're doing that here at Homefulness. We're doing something we call revolutionary social work. We refuse to be mandated reporters. We do our best to lift up our mamas in struggle, and we know that struggle is real. Let's not lie about that either. But there's other ways we can operate them rather than calling the CPS and the police and the people who test, arrest, and incarcerate us, right? So I just want to say that. Love to you. Any last words? How do people get involved or support you, Jewel?
People can always email me or call or look me up on Facebook. That might be easier. On Facebook, I'm Jewel Stroman, Stroman. And basically, my last words, I really wanted to give a shout out, so to speak, to Aisha Flocker, who is probably one of the worst OAGs in the history of CFSA and in the history of DC CFSA. She recently made a comment about me as a mother that was very inappropriate, basically stating that I need to prioritize my children and make them more of a priority instead of focusing on my AFC candidacy, which I thought that was just a horrible, absolutely unprofessional, horrible thing to say. And so, yeah, I definitely wanted to make sure to shout her out. But any parents that are interested in, coming to the protest so that your voice can be heard, please look me up on Facebook and reach out to me.
Really beautiful. And just so people understand, because you said a lot of acronyms really fast, what does an OG something stand for? Otherwise, an original gangster? What is that?
The OG is the, I don't know exactly what it stands for, but she is the attorney. She's CSSA's attorney.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's the agency's attorney.
Imagine her saying that mess. Well, you go with your bad self. Okay? And yeah, let's definitely, what's her name again?
Her name was Aisha Flocker.
Okay.
F-L-U-C-K-E-R.
Okay.
Any parents that have dealt with her, please reach out to me. Also, any parents who have dealt with Tabitha Torres, who is a supervisor at CFSA. This lady is horrible. She needs to go.
Okay.
Please reach out to me. Her name is Tabitha Torres.
I love it.
Horrible.
And what we call them out here, hon, is anti-social workers and case manglers. Just so you know,
Exactly.
right?
I will say this one last thing. Like you were saying before, the CFSA is not set up for parents. The family courts are not set up for parents to win. It's almost like you're guilty until proven innocent. It's just totally, they treat you like you have no kind of rights whatsoever. And so I'm trying to encourage parents to let them know that they do have rights and voices matter.
Ashe. Much love to you, hon, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you soon, babe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So you've been listening to KEXU 96.1 FM. That was our Washington report. And any last words on that, Honey?
Well, just that people, please, as you heard from the amazing Jewel, look her up on Facebook. It's Jewel, Jewel Stroman, Stroman. You can also, again, if you want her contact info and you're not on Facebook and you're in the earshot of our voice, you can email poormag@gmail.com and we will put you in contact with this powerful sister. To all our listeners and viewers out in that area, the Pequot area, the stolen part of American where the politricksters dwell, please join in this Powerful Sisters Poverty Scholar, not academic scholar, really doing the work that we all believe needs to happen.
Okay, so before we get into Frankie's interview, live in the studio right here in East Oakland, Poor Magazine always, redefine terms and redefines our holiday. Labor Day is coming up. And Poor Magazine wants you to really look at the term work and expand that term work. Because poor people on SSI, they work 24/7. So you really need to redefine what is work, and in this Labor Day weekend, really, talk to poor people, talk to people on SSI, because they do work 24/7.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that part of what happens is that the labor of poor folks isn't considered labor at all, right? It's considered criminal behavior. So again, lifting up the volume 3 of Poor Magazine, the work issue, right? And again, it was a lot of Mama D's work, lifting up the story on Richard, the panhandler. People trip off that. One of the things we say is that's micro business, just like recycling, just like mothering, just like street vending, just like a lot of sex work, a lot of this labor that us poor folks do to survive by any means necessary is criminalized for the sole act of doing it. So.
Just dealing with the red tape, I know, being on Section 8, every year I have to go down and do my yearly annual report. That's work. So, yeah, let's flip that term and really think about what's work and the whole, vision of it.
Yeah, and speaking of work, News, which was actually launched by youth scholars at this liberation school that we do for children, poor children, houseless children, and ourselves as poor mamas and uncles, was actually created as a work collective with the youth scholars. So they have actually, and this is all nations, all generations, because that's how we indigenous people move. We're not one age, one color, one nation, right? So we have ads. We have ads that are available in the paper, and they run from $35 to $3,000 because everything's a holistic sliding scale. But when you get an ad in the paper, you also get a spot on these radio airwaves. And if you're a micro business person, if you are an artist, if you are a liberation worker, or if you're just a business person who's conscious, we actually will create a sponsorships and feature your work, and also put a physical paper, and this is also on WordPress, the Colonies. Poor Magazine is in fact Poe. We are not owned by the man, we're not owned by the gangster pimps, we're not owned by the philanthropists. To keep doing that, we need your support. So if you're hearing our voice, if you're watching us, consider kicking down. You can also just support us at poormagazine.org/rev donor, the red button on the poormagazine.org page. Seriously appreciate any support you can give us, because we will not be owned, we will not be bossed, and we will not be bought. So we're going to call up, speaking of not being bought and bossed, let's call up our sister Frankie Velez, today's gentrification report, and a liberator and resistor.
Yeah, Frankie, welcome to KEXU 96.1 FM.
Yeah, and I'm going to trade places. So you can sit on that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. All right, let's talk about the news. Get it on, get it good.
All right. So, Frankie, let me just hold this now because we got 3 folks. Frankie, can you maybe, first of all, talk about who you are as a powerful, fierce mama, and then what happened to your family this year?
I am a powerful, fierce mother warrior. I'm a disabled combat veteran. a woman. There's like 13 of us in that clique, I feel like. You know, it's rare that you hear about a woman wielding a gun at somebody, and I have to come to terms with that, the good and the bad and the ugly with that. This year, my family has lived through a long eviction process from a landlord investor from China, a foreign investor, who has fought us at every turn when we want to be liberated and we wanted to purchase our land that we live on because we live there and we're not her investment. And we went all the way to jury trial, and the judge was crooked. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but sometimes you just continue to feel surprised at their greed and their hatred is so blatant, it's so ugly. And so we have been fighting to stay on this land. We're also Native American, and we're indigenous in our cultural practice too, and that means a lot to us. And so we've just been fighting. I've been fighting that. We've been at protests. My children know how to do those things. They're organizing kids, the revolutionary kids. My husband is a social worker. He works with at-risk youth. He's an artist and an organizer. We like to be the change we want to see in the world. And so we've been fighting, and right now we're waiting for a notice from the sheriff to tell us that we have to leave. And we're still fighting, and we're going to continue to fight, and we're going to continue to liberate the land in our hearts and in our minds. And I just pray that, you know what, the colonizer will come around to realize that he doesn't want us to fight with our fists. You know what I'm saying? Put that back up, back it up, because we're tired. We are tired. I mean, when you've got the mamas and the babies out here ready to get it in, get it on, you know, that's when you've gone too far. You've gone too far, and you have to back up. And so we need people to stay up and stay tuned and stay live and be ready to jump in this thing that we're doing and to support us. I'm going to be, you know, we're going to be doing the thing. I'm not sure exactly what's going on and when it's going on, but I need people to stay live and stay with it.
So I want to just go back a step too, and just hear the shout out. She's asking for community support. Those of you who are hearing us, watching us, seeing us, feeling us. It's no joke, because community support is everything, or what we call it, community. But maybe you can talk a little bit about this peculero. You know, I witnessed this human, and I don't necessarily know where you coming from on Mama Earth. Bloodstained dollar greed is real. So this was a human from Asia, from China. Wearing a $3,000 handmade suit, and I don't want to get into hate against, you know, any of our people. It ain't about her being from China or being from, you know, down the street, because they come in all colors, these colonizers, right? Yeah. But I think the key part is to actually talk about the money she was traveling with and the way that she was here to completely colonize and steal from the gate. So could you go back to the first time you dealt with her, maybe? Or how that went down?
Oh, yeah. The first time I dealt with this woman, she had a buyer. Her buyer was Sophie Hahn. She works for the Paul Hastings law firm. And she came to my house riding in some Mercedes or something, pulls over, jumps out. I just happened to be outside. I felt called. Spirit was like, go outside. And she walks up to me and she goes, I own your house. Can I look inside? I said, what? I don't even know you like that. And no, you cannot. Do you have your proper paperwork? She looked at me like I slapped her in the face. Proper paperwork. Nobody's ever told her no or told her that. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And so she said, I will be back. And a few days later, she came back, and she came back with some brothers in black suits that was trying to break into my house.
What?
Yes, I am serious. She's like, this is mine. I was like, I don't know who you are, but I live here. You know what I mean? It's just like so bizarre to me. And so, yeah, so that was our introduction. And then after that, it became kind of like negotiations. And let me tell you something, my family and I are not poor. My husband's a social worker. He makes 40 G's a year. That's okay. And I'm a disabled vet, and I make 20 G's. You know, that's not much, whatever. But we have 60 G's a year. That's money. Right. That's something, right? This lady is scoffing at me, looking at me like I'm in rags all the time. And the thing is like, we have a real problem in our society when there are people in rags like that. Do you know what I'm saying? And we need to talk about that.
Okay.
But when you have a little bread already and you're living in the Bay and somebody's telling you you still broke and that your money is too black and too poor and too brown and too not strong enough, that's gonna send somebody off. You know what I mean? I could not talk to her. We cannot rationalize with her. Her attorney threatened to lie about us. These people that are in this newsroom right here, because you guys were at my hearing that I went to, he tried to say that after the hearing, we went and surrounded his car and pissed and spit on him. And yup, that's what he told my attorney. I said, we did no such thing. We were too busy loving each other and hugging on each other and being thankful that I actually got my yes in that courtroom. But the her attorney was still going to go to the unlawful detainer court, because this is something people don't know. The unlawful detainer court outranks the rent board, and the rent board ain't trying to do nothing for you. They're trying to get a moratorium because they're overrun with cases right now, and they are catering to the landlords. And so we need to be clear on that. And so we sent them a demand letter on behalf of all indigenous, black, brown, and poor people on this stolen Ohlone land. And it is important that we stick together and we become united, because that's the only way we're going to get through this, is with the help of each other.
Okay, maybe can you talk about what the demand letter said to Tricksters and and whoever else needs to hear it?
Yeah, we want a moratorium on all evictions. We wanted community reparations. Oh yes, absolutely. And then remind me, do you know the last thing? Because I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, the other one was that. Sorry. So Frankie and Poor have been working together, and we, sister in struggle. The three main demands were, as she said, the moratorium on all these speculator fueled evictions, which are evil and wrong. The community reparations, which is a concept that we built actually at Poor Magazine, but it really is based in interdependence. And straight up in this city, the Tricksters need to be giving folks money so we can stay here on the real. And the last one is liberate Ohlone Lashon land so that we can build our own self-determinations. Right? I want to say, though, too, going back another step, to get a little clearer about that rent board mess. Oh my God. What is it? There are landlords on there?
Oh yeah, it's stuck with landlords. I know in Brooklyn they're stuck with landlords.
That was the most joke. Can you talk about that a
Yeah,
little bit?
so there was, it was a 5-person panel. I think 2 might have been landlords, 2 might have been tenants, and 1 was a neutral, which I don't know how you're going to be a neutral up in this piece, but there was a neutral. And I know, what a joke, right? So they decided in my favor. They decided that they were going to send back the last decision that was made, because it was done erroneously, and they were going to go in my favor. But her attorney said, I don't care what you do, I'm going to take her to unlawful detainer court. So when I went for my jury trial, my jury was not of my peers. They were all white, upper middle class people from Alameda. None of those people represent or reflect who I am. And not only that, the landlord's attorney was able to put all these motions forward basically to gag me from saying anything about my story that's true and relevant to the corruption of capitalism.
Right.
So it was like trying to fight a fight with one arm and one leg tied behind your back. I mean, it was really like crippling. Like, you can see their greed is so hanging out. It was just so out there, and to me, it was devastating. In a large way. I guess I lost a large part of my innocence that day, because it's true. I just feel like we don't have anything left. These people are irrational. When the radical becomes rational, there is a problem. And that's what I keep telling you. I am rational. What is wrong with you? You crazy. You're crazy, and your crazy's hanging out, and I ain't letting you try to convince me that I'm crazy. No, that's where I'm at. And I think that everybody is feeling it, especially here in the Bay. This seems to be the testing ground for what they think they can do to us, they can do to the rest of the world. So it's like especially important that we stand up and say no. And I sometimes I feel like I feel the burden of the world on my shoulders, and I feel like just going outside screaming, And then for let's get them up. I mean,
Right.
like, I want to scrap with anybody on the street. I'm so bad,
Right,
you know?
right.
It's almost to that point that it's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm without words, Tony.
Oh my God. Well, I want to go back now trying to figure out now next steps, because the reality is you're not going down without a fight, okay? We're not sure how that fight is going to look exactly, because it is in the kangaroo KKK courts right now. And, they purposely keep you on a uncleared, murky timeline so they can take you by surprise, like something out of a bad John Wayne Western or some mess. For folks who don't know, if you haven't been in that position, they show up with a locksmith. They move real fast like gangsters in the night. And, these are armed, right? These sheriffs are armed, and they're not playing. And there's many a poor folk and folk of color who died behind that particular moment. And, many of our folks in Poor Magazine. I want to shout out my sister Queen Nande. I want to shout out Viv. I want to shout out myself, my Mama D, who have been on the front line of these evictions happening to our bodies, to our communities, to ourselves. And we know that once you're removed and displaced, it isn't okay. You don't just end up okay. I mean, a lot of times even some of the activists and so-called slacktivists, as I call them, they get all involved in the fight. But then once we get evicted, you don't hear about it, right? One of the things that Poor Magazine does, we in your life forever. So I want to shout out to my sister Jerry and her 12-person intergenerational family who were kicked out of the Bay after 40 years in their apartment, after being a domestic worker, cleaning rich people houses, and then end up now in Sacramento, West Sacramento, in a trailer park with no support, no help, and all their children ended up not making it because they were already holding on by a thread. And as we know, when we lose our network of support, we lose everything. So, just to go back though for you, Frankie, I think what's really also important about this kind of process is you did have some legal help.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not trying to throw shade at nonprofits right out there. I know a lot of y'all doing really powerful work. But I also find that sometimes they encourage us to take deals and not to keep fighting. I don't know if you want to speak on that at all, or what you were at the end of that court process.
You know what? It came to a point where I told my attorneys, I'm gonna fight. That's it. And they were doing some crazy stuff, trying to change their attitude on me, and all of a sudden flip the script with their story and be like, oh, we were just hired. We ain't got nothing to lose. I said, that's damn right. You ain't got nothing to lose. Get in there, let's fight.
Okay.
Because I was so mad, and I had paid them $3,000. Yep, I had to pay them money. Oh yeah, and their manager is mean. She's like, you better have my money. I was like, all right, well, I'm the real. So I was like, okay, here's your money. And I told them I wasn't going to take any money. This is not about she gets to buy me out. My property, my life was never for sale.
Right,
I don't know who told them that. And it's so ridiculous. Colonization is so ridiculous. Capitalism is so ridiculous. Why would you go to somebody's house in some other country that you don't know and knock on their door and tell them, this guy told me that I own this place because he gave me this piece of paper, so get out. And then you got somebody with guns with you. That's what I told her attorney. I said, you're wielding violence against me and my family.
That's right.
What do you want us to do?
That's right.
What do you want us to come lie down dead in front of you so you can walk on top of my course? What do you want from me?
Yep.
And so I have several avenues. I can file some more motions. I'm a paralegal. That's also an option. So we're just trying to keep up with what's going on because it's important to me and my family to stay housed. And listening to your report on CPS, that's a scary situation for me and my family. We are indigenous. We don't want our children taken. This is another form of genocide. This is another form of colonization. I would definitely not allow them to do that. But then you think about why a woman would kill her baby, because guess who is at the other side of the door?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That movie Beloved had me effed up. I was so... Because I'm Boricua, my ancestors are mixed too,
Right.
So, and my mom's family comes from Ponce, from the sugarcane plantations. This is for real.
Right. Wow.
That's real. When infanticide is happening, it's because you have to think about what else is happening.
Thank you.
What else is happening that would drive a mother to do that? Because that's deep.
Right.
That's deep, and we are
And this part right here.
Yeah.
So people don't understand the pain of having a child and being houseless. That's a whole other kind of pain. And I want to shout out to my sister Stephanie Grant, who witnessed the murder of Luis Dimitri Gongora Pat, who had her baby and she had no choice when she was dealing with homelessness and pregnancy to basically take whatever at that time, because you can't raise a child and be safe and deal with all those systems that are already there against you and be outside. And that's what our sister Jewel is fighting in DC, and we're fighting. So as we close out, Frankie, maybe what you could talk about is, I know that we don't know, like I said, the sheriffs keep you on the short leash. They don't tell you when. But what you're kind of asking community to do is stay ready.
Yeah.
Stay woke.
Yeah.
Right? How can they find out more about you, give your information, put it out there, whatever you want to give, and also kind of what you see the community doing?
So my phone number is 510-750-9830. My email is LOVEPEACEUNITY5 That's love, peace, unity, 5 You can get with me. I want people to, email me, call me, and stay woke to Tiny's live stream, Poor Network's live stream, because that's my main media source. We had a lot of media, though, out at our last press conference. I was pretty impressed. I did a couple of interviews, and I feel like that's because I made it not just about me, because this ain't just about me.
Thank you.
This is about all of us. And when I struggle, when I fight, it's not just for me. It's not just for my babies. It's for all those mouths out there that ain't getting fed, that don't know the truth, and that are starving for the power of knowledge. So I want people to be there on the fly. If you can just pay attention, because some stuff can go down, and we need to start being there for each other as immediately as we can, like a phone tree, like a I heard this, like a I heard that. I live off of 53rd. I'm going to run down 2 blocks to be with you, something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want for people, because these politricksers are tricky, and we need to be trickier than they are.
That's right.
And we need to meet our own needs and be liberated. That's all it's about.
Woo! That's what's up. That's what's up. You heard it first from Sister Frankie Velez here, and she is not giving up. We're gonna actually take a short music break, and then we'll be right back. We're gonna close out with a little flowetry and poetry, because we poets and cultural workers, we the poverty scholars, that houseless mama, that houseless daughter, and don't ever think we ever given up, because we not. Short music break. We'll be right back. So keep it locked. PoorMagazine.org/radio and 96.1 FM on your dial, and on YouTube at Poor News Network.
No, but you.
Should I stop it? Should I stop it?
No. You didn't stop it, did you? No. Just keep up the music for a second. Okay. That was beautiful. We'll be done about 7 minutes. Okay. I'd love for further. So let this relay.
My name is Christina.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Maybe it's inside the bottle. Maybe it's inside the bottle. I had some good old, but it's been to whiskey and wine. And for my good old, but I spent my last dime. Now wine is good to me. It helped me pass the time. And my good old body whiskey keeps it warm in the sunshine. Your mama may have blessed the child that's got his own. God has blessed me. I hope it ain't
So we're back here, KEXU 96.1 FM, East Oakland, Poor Magazine, and I'm the Black Cripple.
That's PNN, not CNN, family. It's the real news. Not that fake politrickster or AKK-demic journalist who ain't never missed a meal, as Mama D would say, the middle-class media that talks about us without us. No, this is the real stuff right here. True community radio. I want to do a shout-out to Janelle, a sister who actually lost her life in community violence right down here on Black Arthur. There's an altar. I want to say Ivaye to your spirit journey. She was pregnant with child at the time. So many of our young people losing their lives. And just to know, and for people listening to us to know, this is the community's airwaves. This ain't owned by no government politrickster, ain't owned by no philanthropists. So you want to come in and speak your story, know that Community Newsroom happens next Tuesday. That's Tuesday, September 4th at 7 o'clock. Come through and tell your own story in your own voice. There's always food here and childcare. There's folks. This is warmth, this is love, and this is true media making that's actually enmeshed in the community. Ivaye to Janelle. So we're going to drop a little poetry and flowetry. Before we do, though, I want to say Poor Magazine is, in fact, Po. So if you can kick a little bit of money down, a little dough, we will appreciate it, though. I'm just saying. So, Black Cripple, take it away.
Hey, so this poem, I wrote it for the real Poor People's March, not the Poor Foundation March. It's called Poverty and Disability. It's a long one, so yeah. 2 unwanted children left behind all the time had to grow up alone, no home to phone to. Hand in hand, they empowered each other, gave birth to the blues and hip-hop, poverty and disability, raised Moses and Harriet Tubman. From plantations to the mountaintops, they broke out of locked wards and brought back the Ninth Ward. Together they witnessed the ugly laws. The corners were their art studios. Now they can't stand on sidewalks, and on Sundays can't even give their sermon talks, while ivy walls talk their creativity to institutionalize it, where wealthy PhDs teach it. And what does poverty and disability get? Nothing but charity. Now they are elderly, living off their Social Security because of regulations. They can't even get married. Poverty and disability locked up again. No fun putting in jail. Bill Clinton sealed that deal. Thrown out of hospitals and nursing homes. Back on the corner. Justifiers calling the police. The cycle goes around. But the kids of poverty and disability organize without foundations who have roots in the cycle of abuse. The children of poverty and disability, under their arms is the book Poverty Scholarship, marching to D.C. hand in hand with the knowledge, art, music, proud and be proud. Poverty and disability. Yeah, welcome to back here once again, KEXU 96.1 FM. You are listening to Foreign News Network, our news hour, and we have a lot more programs coming up today, so stay tuned. I think we have some more poetry by
Just one.
Heine.
Just one to flow you out, fam. Just to flow you out. But I don't know if I can follow that. I don't know if I can follow the Black Cripple. The poverty scholar versus the Black Cripple. Oh, it's on, fam.
It's on.
It's on. For those of you who don't know, we on all the digital streets. We on Instascam, we on Pormay, on the Facecrack, and we on Twitter, and we on YouTube. Those of you watching this right now.
Yeah.
Some other powerful welfare queens that's going around.
Yeah, all right.
So we're gonna drop a quick piece. This is the anthem for the welfare queens, and if you hear an echo, you know why, because a beautiful Queen Nani expert is gonna go on next. My journey in a tab. This poem is in honor of homeless mothers and poor mothers, low-wage mothers and no-wage mothers, welfare mothers and three-job working mothers, migrante mothers and incarcerated mothers. This poem is in honor of DHS with, CPS with, and most of all, system messed with mothers. This poem is in honor of all those poor women and men, and yes, I said men because don't sing me that song about gender again, who fight and struggle and steal and beg in every crevice and corner to keep our kids in a bed, who dress and feed with tired hands, who answer cries over and over again, who deserve to be coddled and loved, fed and respected, instead of criminalized, marginalized, and never respected, who can barely make it, but sometimes do, and still raise all the world's people, like me and you and you. Can I get a witness? Woo! Who can barely make it, but always do, and still raise all the world's people, like me and you and you.
Yeah. So we're out of here. KEXU 96.1 FM LP.
Yeah, and for folks to know, keep it locked. PoorMagazine.org/radio. Keep it on YouTube, Poor News Network, and keep it on your dial at 96.1 FM. All you residents of the Fruitvale, High Street, and Park Avenue, because up next is going to be the amazing Maya moment on Poor People's Revolutionary Remix, which is a series of all of us folks spitting some powerful poverty scholarship between 7 and 8 o'clock. So keep it locked. We're going to take a short music break, and we will be back.